Connecting to audio. Okay, we're going to go live in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, phones on mute, 5, 4, 3.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar, The Efficiency Secret for Bankway Banks, Data Automation Made Easy. My name is Greg Richards, Director of Marketing for EnableSoft and moderator for today's event. Just a few housekeeping points before we begin. Your telephones and computer microphones have been muted. While we will not be accepting live questions during today's event, you may type any questions you do have into the chat box at the bottom of your screen. We'll answer as many of these questions as we can if there's time remaining at the end. Any unanswered questions will be addressed within 24 hours of the webinar close. Now, without further delay, I'd like to bring on Dan Wellbaum, the Executive Vice President for EnableSoft, to introduce today's topic. Take it away, Dan.
Well, thank you, Greg, and good afternoon. Welcome to our webinar sponsored by FIS and EnableSoft, entitled, again, The Efficiency Secret for Bankway Banks, Data Automation Made Easy. We appreciate our business relationship with FIS Bankway and appreciate their support in promoting this webinar. And most importantly, however, we appreciate each of you investing your time with us today. We have organizations and financial institutions from all over the country attending this afternoon. My name is Dan Wellbaum, and I'm the Executive Vice President at EnableSoft here in Orlando, Florida. By way of a very quick background, I've been with EnableSoft nearly 2 years and have over 35 years of banking software experience. As president of a couple of core banking systems, including, coincidentally, the first president of Kencom Dimension 3000 back in the 80s before it became known as what it's known for today, Bankway. So have experience in the core banking world as well as a lot of other ancillary applications, including lending and imaging technology and so on over the years. We are joined this afternoon, as you can see on your screen, by a couple of other speaker participants. First, our very special guest from one of our 60-plus Bankway Foxtrot customers is Janice Smith, who's Vice President of BankPlus. It's near their headquarters are located near in the Jackson, Mississippi area. Janice out of Ridgeland, Mississippi. I'll be introducing Janice a little bit later on. And our second guest speaker participant this afternoon is Justin Calhoun, who's our Director of Sales Support and Product Marketing at EnableSoft. Justin has a little over 7 years of experience with EnableSoft, originally starting his career in our customer training and customer support area. And Justin will be doing the product demonstration later on this afternoon. With that, we'd like to remind you of the overall objectives for our webinar this afternoon that were shared in the invitation. But just by way of a quick review, we certainly want to introduce each of you to whatever we call data automation and topic of data automation made easy. Share that we believe there's a new and better alternative to manual or programmatic or outsourced efforts when automating data entry or data maintenance or data integration, data migration, data testing, data aggregation, and more. And probably the biggest thing for this afternoon as far as a key objective is to allow you to hear from one of your peers, a fellow FIS Bankway user, and how her bank is currently gaining significant efficiencies and cost savings with this technology. And then obviously hopefully help you learn how your organization likewise can save significant time and dollars and increase process efficiency with these capabilities. By way of a quick roadmap for this afternoon, we'd like to just share with you briefly what is data automation, why is it an area that more and more organizations are looking at these days to invest dollars in. We'll introduce you to our tool called the Foxtrot One, and more specifically share with you how organizations just like yourself all over the country are every day benefiting from this technology. And then Janice will share her story and how they're using Foxtrot in many areas at BankPlus. We'll provide a demonstration and we'll wrap up, suggest some follow-up steps towards the end. What is data automation? First of all, we believe as we introduce this to you, this is software that automates the movement of data. Well, how I like to share with people is this software basically allows you to automatically go put data somewhere or change data somewhere or retrieves data somewhere. But it specifically automates things, again, like data entry, maintenance, integration, migration, and so on. As shared earlier, it's an alternative to manual or programmatic or outsourcing efforts when dealing with things like maintenance or entry or integration and so on. This is point-and-click software. There's no programming ever required with this type of a tool, with this type of technology. The whole idea of this technology is to drive significant business process efficiency, and many people, when they begin to look at this or they use these capabilities, many times come back to us and say, oh, using this technology or using data automation is almost like adding people without adding people. And hopefully you'll be able to see that as we go throughout the afternoon here, this session. Why is data automation important? Just setting the stage, I'm going to cover a couple of basic concepts for a couple of moments just to set the stage. But most organizations that we talk to, and we currently serve nearly 500 financial institutions around the country, but most organizations we talk to view data as a strategic asset, very similar to other strategic assets that your organizations have, from capital to people to products to your marketplaces that you serve and so on. And likewise, most organizations have a need. We find that financial institutions have a need, obviously, to enter data, maintain it or integrate it or migrate it and so on. And when doing these types of things, many times organizations like yourself are under mission critical find you have mission critical activities, or there's a time sensitivity to getting some of these things done. Oftentimes with traditional approaches, it becomes very costly and labor intensive to do these functions. But why, and again, I know this is pretty basic 101 for a moment, but if you'll bear with me as we set the stage here, but why is there a need to enter or change or integrate or migrate data? No one likes dealing with, obviously, dirty data. When you're ready to serve a customer, when you're ready to give information to your management to make business decisions about locations or products or services that you want to provide, there's a need to enter and change and integrate data, obviously to drive efficiency in your organization and to support your planning process and obviously improve the bottom line. So there's obviously real reasons that organizations have a need to enter and change and integrate data and so on. So up until now, what are the traditional approaches that organizations just like yourself find themselves in? What are the traditional options of dealing with these data-related tasks? As we deal with institutions just like yourself, we find that many organizations still have a lot of manual, repetitive entry in their organization, or manual maintenance processes, or whatever. Or oftentimes they'll say, hey, you'll take the approach to deal with these data entry or maintenance or integration or migration tasks. You'll employ programmatic expertise or write programs to deal with these things. Or you might outsource a data migration or a data maintenance task or a data integration task to a third party to get done for you. Or many times if it's too timely and too costly, you may not end up doing anything right now. You'll deal with things in a manual process. But what are the challenges then with these traditional methods or traditional options of dealing with data-related tasks? The challenges we hear back from customers like yourself, organizations like yourself, is if I'm doing things manually, there's often there's accuracy issues, there's a risk issue if I'm using temps to do things manually, or if I'm doing things programmatically, many times to do a maintenance project programmatically or a migration project or a integration project, you might take very valuable programmatic expertise off of maybe more strategic projects to do some of these very basic data-related functions. So these are some of the challenges that organizations have out there in dealing with these data-related tasks. Thus the reason for the creation of this tool a little over 18 years ago. And this tool we call Foxtrot 1, this data automation software, if you will, is a tool that automates the movement of data. And just by way of just a quick introduction, we never send data directly to a database, if you will. It always goes through the presentation layer. Just like if you have an employee or associate in your financial institution that's entering data, they're always working with a keyboard and a mouse and interacting with that application through the UI or the user interface of the presentation layer. Likewise, when you automate these data-related tasks with Foxtrot, you're always basically creating a series of instructions without programming using our point-and-click software, and you're attaching these series of instructions to the presentation layer, and then when you go to basically automate these functions of entry and maintenance and so on, you're basically pushing a play button. It's almost like a player piano taking off and automatically taking control of that keyboard and mouse, and entering or changing or retrieving data. And always, again, doing this at the presentation layer. And the whole idea of Foxtrot, and one of the things that really separates this capability, is the significant power and functionality of what if and calculations and so on. There's a little over 200 power actions that you can employ to deal with these data-related tasks. And again, always doing this with no programming required ever. So that's just a quick introduction to this alternative. And of course, the advantages, once again, are to automate these data-related tasks, work with all platforms. Oftentimes, Bankway organizations like yourself will get excited. They'll hear about Foxtrot, and they think, well, maybe it only works, does it just work with Bankway? No. When you invest, or if you're ever to invest in Foxtrot, this tool can work with any application or platform, such as not only green screen, if you will, but browser applications or Windows applications or even Excel. And again, allows you to automate these particular functions across all those different platforms. When you're doing these things automatically, you're obviously improving the data quality or accuracy, you're streamlining processes, and that there's no programming required. People closest to the data can take control of these data-related tasks and oftentimes get them done sooner to better serve your customer or better respond to requests from your management. Again, the whole idea here is saving significant time and dollars, and most organizations, when they invest in this capability, find their average payback to be around 90 days, so it's a very affordable solution. Very quickly, we'd like to just introduce the many ways, the many areas that Foxtrot automates for your financial institution. So you see on the screen here the various ways that we're automating data entry and maintenance and so on. Let's just walk through very quickly some examples. The data entry area, you know, as we deal with financial institutions all over the country every day, whether it be very large or very small, really there's never a day that goes by that we don't talk to a financial institution that says, hey, we've got multiple repetitive entry tasks, or we're doing a lot of data entry in a lot of different areas, or we're entering the same data into multiple systems. And so these are just some examples, and I'm not going to, as you see here, I'm not covering every point on the screen. I'm just by way of introduction here. We want to get to let you hear from Janice in just a few moments. But in the area of data entry, we have a Bankway client recently that they were offering, providing warehouse loans, if you will, and prior to this technology, they were entering around 400 to 500 interest payments against those warehouse loans until they sold those loans on a monthly basis. They were doing it manually. They used Foxtrot and took a basically almost a day process down to around 20 minutes, if you will, by automatically entering those payments directly into the core using Foxtrot. So here's some other areas that you see on the screen here that can be used as far as automating any kind of data entry-related tasks in your organization. Secondly, data maintenance. This is a very big area. You know, Foxtrot, by the way, is used by, we've got banks just like yourself that deploy Foxtrot not only in all areas of operations, deposit operations, lending operations, IT, but in marketing, the retail side, the online banking areas, and so on, the accounting or financial side of the organization. But data maintenance is a major area and a major area of saving opportunity for banks that deploy Fox or use Foxtrot to automate these areas, such as automating, updating. You have an officer that leaves and you want to move 1,000 accounts from loan officer A to loan officer B, or take those 1,000 commercial accounts and move them to several loan officers. You can do that automatically with Foxtrot. You know, changing or waiving service charges. We've got Bankway clients that are in areas where there's military bases, and for those customers, for instance, those folks in the military, they might have low balances and low transaction volumes, which might necessarily equate to sometimes service charging. Well, they'll use Foxtrot to waive those fees automatically, if you will, and do maintenance of that, if you will. Or you're updating statement cycles, which is an area that Janice at BankPlus uses, and several other BankPlus clients use that as well, and that'll be part of the demonstration this afternoon. So again, here you see on the screen multiple areas where Foxtrot or this technology can automate data maintenance. Data integration. Boy, there's several Bankway customers. Matter of fact, some of you folks might know the Summit Bank. This gentleman spoke it was at the national conference. He was on stage, one of the few folks on stage that morning in the national conference in Orlando in April this past year. And the Summit, as an example, they have Andera for account opening with their Bankway core solution, and Andera is not integrated to their core. So the Senior Vice President of Operations literally used Foxtrot, or this tool, to take data out of Andera and automatically enter it into Bankway without having to manually do that, and save significant time and dollars and improve the accuracy, if you will. It's amazing every day. Maybe your bank out there has literally everything integrated, but in my 35 plus years of banking experience, software experience, many times we find banks don't have everything integrated, if you will. So, for instance, we've got several banks on the GL side that most things might be integrated to GL, but maybe your fixed assets, or your accounts payable, your payroll transactions are being done manually. So people will integrate or automatically post those transactions. Or we've got organizations out there that might use LaserPro or Calyx or EasyLender, or whatever it is on the loan origination side, and maybe that you don't have the you're manually boarding those loans because you don't have the integration between those consumer or mortgage or commercial loan origination systems. So we have many institutions that will use Foxtrot to basically, once they get an electronic data source from that LOS system, they'll create a script or a series of instructions with Foxtrot and automatically enter that loan data. I literally was on a phone this morning with a bank, about a $250 million bank in Michigan, that has a loan origination system that's not integrated, and they were taking around 30 minutes to board that loan, and they've got that down to 3 to 5 minutes with Foxtrot, depending on the number of data elements that they're entering into their core loan servicing applications. So basically, data integration is an area that people use Foxtrot for every day. And by the way, you'll hear Janice talk about how she's integrated her credit card area in just a few moments. Data migration. This is frankly how we started Foxtrot. Our founder, CEO, Richard Milam, founded our company a little over 18 years ago. Richard did bank conversions and so on, and basically created a tool to automate this area. So if you're out there buying a branch, or you're buying another bank and they're using a non-Bankway core system, and you want to bring data across, people will use Foxtrot every day to do that. Or you might say, hey, I'm not right now buying a branch or buying a bank, but you might be experiencing where you're maybe bringing in a new technology platform for maybe cash management, maybe going to a browser-based cash management system from a Windows-based cash management system, and you want to get the data brought across. So people will use this tool to migrate that data automatically from one platform to the other. Data aggregation is another big area for Foxtrot. For instance, you're getting ready for a loan review meeting or a board meeting or whatever. You're accessing a lot of different spreadsheets, or you're accessing some data from a browser application or a green screen application or a browser application, and you want to create a script with Foxtrot to, in a lights-out environment, go aggregate it, go get that data from multiple sources to a central source. People will use this tool for that all the time. And then finally, kind of a miscellaneous area where we say automating IT and other IT and operations areas with Foxtrot. We have banks that will use this tool to automate their data testing area. We just had a bank invest in Foxtrot in the last 30 days, an institution that was basically doing a lot of manual things in the data testing area. They automated that function with Foxtrot. As you see here, Foxtrot is also used. We've got Bankway clients out there that will use Foxtrot to sit there 24 hours, 7 days a week and monitor, is my online network up? Is a transaction that I'm doing in an online environment up? And they would like to be alerted automatically before a customer has to call and says, hey, your online network is down right now. So people will use Foxtrot to create a script or a series of instructions. It'll sit there, constantly emulate a user experience online and alert someone if that application is not down. So better serving your customer. So these are just some miscellaneous areas of ways that Foxtrot is used to automate data-related tasks. Notice again, I have not covered each one of these in detail. We'd be happy to cover that with your individual bank later on, or learn more about how your organization or what your organization is doing in these areas, and be happy to have a discussion how we could help you automate some of these areas. I'd be happy to get into more detail on many of these things that we didn't cover in the previous slides. Very briefly, before we turn it over to Janice, or introduce Janice to share her experiences and how she's driving efficiencies and cost savings at BankPlus, by way of a quick introduction to who EnableSoft is, in case you're not familiar with our organization, we are located in the Orlando, Florida area. Been in operation a little over 18 years. We serve, as you see here, nearly 500 financial institutions just like yourself, from very large to very small. We're fortunate to currently serve a little over 130 Fidelity institutions, which includes 60-plus Bankway institutions just like yourself. So the technology obviously works very, very well with the FIS Bankway environment. And then today we currently serve, in addition to the things you've seen there, we also serve about half the top 100 performing institutions, and a little over around 35–36% of institutions over $1 billion in size use our solution. But again, we've got organizations that are 150 million in assets, all the way up to the very largest institutions that have deployed Foxtrot and are saving significant time and dollars. Very quickly, what are some other Bankway customers saying about Foxtrot? Here's an organization that changed cycle codes on 2,300 accounts in 15 minutes using this technology. This is the organization I mentioned earlier that basically did some automatic entry of data between their account opening solution that was not integrated to Bankway, and they saved significant time. But more importantly, the Senior Vice President of Operations here will tell you about the accuracy of the data, and the data quality is much higher using this technology. This organization, this Bankway client talks about using Foxtrot for mass maintenance and other data-related tasks, and saved the organization not only time and dollars, but it saved them many times for a lot of projects. And this organization, whenever they get any kind of data-related task, this Bankway bank basically says, they ask the question, how can we make it easy with Foxtrot? So those are just some quick quotes. With that, what I'd like to do is, with that introduction there, is turn it over to Janice Smith. And again, we are fortunate to be able to serve BankPlus, located in Mississippi. And I'd like to have Janice just walk through a few areas. She's going to just share with you a little bit about her background, a little bit about her institution, why they investigated this technology, and how it's helped, where it's being used, and how it's helped their organization. So Janice, welcome.
Thanks, Dan. Just a little bit about myself. I've been with BankPlus with almost 20 years now, and for the last 10 years or more, I've been working with the Foxtrot software to manipulate scripts and update data here at BankPlus. We've used Foxtrot to update millions of records within the time frame that we've been using it. Built very numerous number of Foxtrot scripts for BankPlus. Just a little bit about BankPlus. We were founded back in 1909 and went by the name of Citizens Bank and Trust. Back in 1994, we bought a bank and we changed our name to BankPlus at that time. We have been a long time FIS Bankway institution and have been using Foxtrot for over 10 years in-house. We're a $2.3 billion commercial bank based in Mississippi, and we have 60 branches throughout the state. We use Foxtrot with browser, as well as some older scripts that we have are still using our green screen platform. Just a brief explanation of why we considered Foxtrot. Back 20 years ago, I think, we purchased a bank and we used a consultant to come in-house to help us get the customers and accounts from that bank into Bankway, and they used Foxtrot to do that. We also looked at improving the cost of mailing out statements to our customers, and determined that if we could CAS certify the addresses, we could save a lot of money and time. So we used, at that time, we purchased Foxtrot in-house and started running a script to update our mailing addresses. We have improved many efficiencies throughout the bank by using Foxtrot. Some of the reasons we chose Foxtrot was because it worked seamlessly with FIS Bankway, and that we could integrate it with other applications that we use within the bank, and that it was easy to learn and was immediate ROI for us. Now I want to talk about some of the different ways that we use Foxtrot. Just a couple examples that we're using Foxtrot for our data integration. Several years ago, we started issuing our check cards when the customer came in and opened a new account, or an existing customer wanted a new check card. That was a big plus for us. We created a script that would go out there and automate the process of getting the card information from Bankway into our card wizard system. At the time, it was taking a customer service representative less than 5 minutes to copy and paste the information from Bankway over to the card wizard system to get the card to print. We created the script, and it takes less than a minute now, and it's just a click of a button for that customer service representative to get the card ordered and printed for the customer. The other thing that we do as far as data integration is we pull email addresses that are in our Bankway system and populate it into the FIS Net Image or Image Center for our online statements customers, that they have the most accurate email address that we have in our systems. A little bit about our data maintenance. Some of the scripts, I've listed several there. Some that we use daily is for our overdraft service processing. We have a system that provides us with the current overdraft limit for a customer's account. We take that information with Foxtrot and update the limit within Bankway. We also track which letter number, saying that the customer is overdrawn for so many days. We track it using a Foxtrot job into Bankway. A few years ago, we determined that we could use Foxtrot to update some loan risk rating codes within Bankway browser, and so we pull a file monthly and update those risk ratings within Bankway. Another thing that we've done is create a batch for accounts that we're handling a lot of cash for that customer, and we track what charges should go to that account, and monthly we pull the information and update a batch that would charge the customer for the cash handling. That was taking someone approximately almost an hour to do all that, and it's less than 5 minutes now. Another thing we do is change on a periodic basis our statement cycle codes, and Justin's going to go over that and do a demo on that shortly. The next thing I'd like to touch on is how we've used check cards, Foxtrot, to help us go in. A few years we determined we need to reissue our entire check card base, and we used Foxtrot to go in there and in Bankway create a new check card for the customer's account, and then go out there and order the new check card to be mailed to the customer. And that was saved numerous hours by using Foxtrot to do that. We're also currently pulling comments into a collection software and populating that information into Bankway. That way we keep both systems having the same comments without an employee having to go out there and retype where they are in the collections efforts. Another thing that we've done as far as data migration, several years ago we moved from one online banking vendor to a new vendor, and during the migration we determined part of the information was not going to be migrated, and we were able to capture that information, and using Foxtrot we were able to get all that information updated before we rolled that new vendor platform out for our customers. So it made the process a whole lot streamlined for our customers. And just in wrapping up, I want to just go back over just some of the time savings. As I mentioned, we're probably saving 66% or more by using Foxtrot to capture the information for our instant check card system. We've reduced the time that it takes to input the monthly cash management cash fee batch from 60 minutes to 5 minutes, and we saved countless hours when we automated the zip load updates for our CAS certification compliance. As far as money, I would estimate we're saving about $90,000 a year. All the different Foxtrot jobs that we use on a daily, monthly basis would equivalent to about 3 employees. And when we went and we started using the CAS certified addresses, we probably saved at least $1,000 a month by having those statements mailed at a cheaper rate. Some of the other information is that we use Foxtrot in several different locations at BankPlus. As I mentioned, the instant issue check cards are out there for our customer service reps, and sometimes our loan assistants would go out and order a check card for a customer, and that's probably 100 or more employees within the bank that has the ability to use that Foxtrot X with the touch of a button to order the card. We've also got the other area at back office operations that handles the majority of the remaining scripts in the operations area. And one thing I haven't touched on is myself or another person would typically write a script, verify that it's working as it should, and then I can deploy it throughout the organization so that these areas could use the Foxtrot. Like I said, it works with the D3000, the older version, and it works with browser. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Justin Calhoun. He's the sales director at EnableSoft. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Janice. We always love to hear the Foxtrot stories from our customers, so really appreciate that. And for the next few moments, I will go over our Foxtrot One application. So we'll take a look at our product overview and then get into a specific detail of how Foxtrot One can help automate some mass maintenance challenges in your organization. We'll take a look at Janice's BankPlus instance and our Bankway instance, and we'll build a script on there and run that. So let me just show over our application here. Should just take a second. And get this over on the screen. Okay. All right, so right now we're looking at Janice's computer, and you can see Foxtrot One is installed on the right-hand side of the screen. And our application itself is it's a very simple layout. So we have 4 major sections. We have our file menu at the top, and then this gives you access to all your commands throughout the application and help documentation and videos and etc. And below that is our script center. And this is where we train Foxtrot on the individual steps that it would take to automate a process. So we use our selector tool here to drag and drop onto the fields and buttons and menus that we want to interact with. And we have our list of actions to choose from to automate a specific process. So the actions are segmented into, what they put, what areas they help automate. So we have our data section to help transform information if we needed to, and then feedback options to help the user know what's going on in the script, as well as different flow control, and so on. And to the right of that is our task window. So this is going to fill up with actions as we go through and build the script, and we can organize our actions over here to the right in the task panel. And below that is our view center, and has the tip of the day. So if you want some information on what the product can do, we'll show it to you here. But today we're really going to be working with the data view. So when we want to work with the data file, we're going to open it up and view it right in here. All right, so below the view center is the run center. Once we have our data loaded and our script built, we'll just come down here to hit the run button to start the process. So we have other run options to choose from and statistics that we can monitor, as well as different speed we can control. So that's the basic overview of Foxtrot 1. Now the process that we're going to look at today is the statement cycle code changes. So to give you an overview what that would look like in your organization, Janice would typically run an A2I report. So they're going to run a query to pull back all of the accounts that equal a certain statement cycle code, let's say 023. So they would produce an Excel file with those list of accounts. And then once they have that list, file produced, we would go over to Foxtrot and pull that file into the view center. And then, of course, train Foxtrot to go through the exact steps on the Bankway interface that you would train a user to do manually. So as you can see here, right now we're on the maintenance section, and we go over to a Smart Locate tab, and this is where we would type in the account number. So what we'll do, we'll just take a few moments to build a couple steps of this script, and then we're going to go over to more of a production environment and show you how we would run that script in production. So we've already run the query, so I'm going to go down to the View Center and click on Open Data. Now we'll just navigate out to where that file resides. It could be in a local file or on the network or so on. So we just browse out, so we found the file. All right, so once we select it, now while I'm in here, let me just show you all the different file types that we support. So we'll have anything from Access to CSV to text file, any major file format that you would work with. So once we click on Open on the file, this is going to import all the accounts that we needed to maintain. So we have our account number here, and then of course the cycle code that we want to change it to, and then any other ancillary fields to log error messages and so on. All right, so to build a script to help, to maintain this statement cycle code, you would simply use our selector tool to drag and drop onto the fields that you want to interact with. So as you can see, I can drag and drop, and it outlines the fields that I want to work with. But since I want to send over the account number, I'm going to release the selector tool on the account number field, and we get an action builder window. So we have a small screenshot of what I've just targeted, and then a consolidated list of smart actions of what Foxtrot can perform. So these actions would change depending on what we've targeted. And like I said, they are smart actions, so they've identified what type of target that I'm working with, and then just present the users with the actions that we can perform. So in this example, I would use a send data action, and then I'll have send data options over to the right. Then I can tie in my database field by clicking on my expression builder and then selecting the field from the list. So here's the account number. Now I would just simply hit OK and OK again to send the information to the screen. So it's that technique that a user would execute anytime they want to build a script. So it's all drag and drop, and there's no programming like Dan mentioned earlier, and it can be set up in a few seconds. So using that same technique, I went ahead, and of course Janice and I have been running statement cycle codes for several years now, but so we have this script available using the same technique that we just showed you. that it'll go through and open up the account, change the statement cycle code to the one that we want to go to, which in this case is 105, and then save the changes. Look for any error messages on the screen, and if there's no error messages, it'll continue. So let's just walk through this individual script just to show you in action. So action number 1, I'm just going to go through. I click to clear the list of, I know you're familiar with Bankway, so it's going to clear our list of what we're working with. Okay. All right, so now we send the account information over. Just take a few moments to update the screen. So now we have the account owner here, Mr. Adam Magic Jr., our senior. And then we'll interact with the drop-down selection tool to select the statement information field. All right, so then we'll go through and we can transform the information for the statement cycle to match whatever the text would appear in the statement cycle list. All right, so we go through, we select the statement cycle, and then we can click on Next to complete the transaction. So we would just repeat that step over and over for each account that we want to process. Now with Foxtrot, all we need to do is just hit the Run button to start it off. All right, so I'm going to come down here, and then we would just adjust the speed. You know, we can go up to full speed here. We'll have to keep an eye on the statistics bar while this is running. And this will just show you how many records have been completed, how much time you have remaining, and so on. Over just a tad. Oh. Okay, so now I'm going to hit the Run button. Now it's just going to repeat those steps that we built earlier over and over until it reaches the last account in the file. So as you can see, once you build the script one time, you can distribute this script to other users, other Foxtrot users throughout your organization. And they can run it whenever they need to. It can be scheduled to run at a certain time. It could be run through a trigger, so if it's waiting on a file to be produced, or it can run on demand when a user wants to open up and execute it. So a couple different run options. So what you're seeing now is just Foxtrot interacting with the Bankway screens just like a user would. So of course the Bankway system really sees it as a user making these changes, obviously keeping your audit trails intact, and any security profiles that you have set up, those would still be inactive. So we're going through, and right now, Foxtrot's averaging about 5 to 6 records per minute. So you can see when you compare that to a manual process, a significant increase in productivity. Not to mention the gain in data accuracy that you would benefit from. And this is a very simple example of a data maintenance project. So something that you would just run your query, load your accounts, hit the Run button, and then you can walk away from. Now this is a small section of what Foxtrot can help you with. This is being data maintenance area. As we went through earlier, there's 6 other categories that we can really assist your organization with automating. So we'll let this run for a few more moments, and it's almost done with the 10 records. All right, so let's go ahead and stop it here. So now, as you can see, it's action by action. Everything's labeled in sequential order. Now, I also want to remind everybody that if you have a few moments, the chat box is available if you'd like to ask a question, and then when we get to the end, we'll try to get to everybody's questions. All right, so at that point, that's the simple product overview that we want to show you today. Very easy to drag and drop onto the fields that you want to interact with, and we hope to answer any questions that you have. So with that being said, I want to turn it back over to Mr. Wellbaum.
Okay, well, thank you, Justin, and again, thank you, Janice, for your not only time, but sharing the story there at BankPlus. And thank you, Justin, for just giving a very basic introduction to automating a data maintenance function. And hopefully you've been able to see how not only easily that you could create a script, but also run the script, and obviously the significant time savings that can be realized. What I'd like to do here before we just open it up for some questions, I think we've got a couple of questions here in just a moment, but I'd like to just begin to wrap up by saying what we try to share with you this afternoon is a tool, again, called Foxtrot. We call it Data Automation Made Easy. It's a tool that, technology that allows us to help you automate data entry tasks, data maintenance tasks, data integration tasks, data migration tasks, data aggregation, data testing, data parsing, data cleansing, and automate basically application monitoring and so on. So tools to be used for all of those particular areas. It's a tool or technology that when it's, as you operate it, allows you to take data that's in an electronic format and automatically either put data somewhere or retrieve data somewhere, again with 100% accuracy. We talked about this tool being a tool that, a technology that works across all platforms, not only green screen, and not only browser, but Windows and Excel. When you use this technology, it's again like adding people without adding people, as you see here, and has obviously a very high return on investment for those who deploy this tool or technology. With that, what I'd like to do before we just wrap up with some suggested next steps is just field a couple of questions, and Justin's going to read the question, and just I think we've got a couple of questions here. Go ahead, Justin.
All right, so yeah, thank you for posing a few questions here. We appreciate that. And one of the questions we have is, does Foxtrot keep audit trails of maintenance transactions? So now Foxtrot has its own audit capabilities, you know, of what Foxtrot's doing, what script's running, what data is being used. However, when it comes to maintenance transactions on the Bankway system, those are still kept by your system. So just like a user would manually go in and change the statement cycle code and save those, and the next day, of course, it would show that Janice would come in and make those changes. So those would still be intact. So all those back office procedures, those are still in there. All right, so that answers that question. So let me move on to the next one here. All right, so can multiple users run scripts at the same time? So the way our licensing is structured is that we have a concurrent license model. So if you have multiple licenses, say you have 2 licenses, you can have unlimited installs in your organization, however, only 2 open sessions at a time. So you can only have as many scripts running as you do licenses. All right, so let's see a little bit of a technical question. We have, does Foxtrot support virtual machines? So a lot of our users do use VMware as far as being able to install Foxtrot on their computer, and of course they want to use it, you know, process the scripts while they're working on their own computer. So they use virtual machines to install Foxtrot on so they can process scripts in the background. And they also use maybe a server that they can remote into to start the scripts and then run that through a remote desktop session. All right, so another question we have, familiar name there. Let's see. We kind of showed a smaller example, right? We had 10 accounts on Janice's computers there. So, and it takes, you know, a couple minutes to process 10 accounts. So, I'm trying to understand. So we have a 3,000 records, say an example for 3,000. And if you want to, of course, shorten the time, so okay, so existing Foxtrot customer, obviously. So we have 3,000 records. You want to shorten the time it would take to run on the Bankway browser. And there's always, you know, some best practices that you can do to help speed up the performance of your computer. A lot of them are more Microsoft enhancements that you can do. such as setting your system profiles for performance and Internet Explorer settings for performance speeds, and hardware is always a key factor as far, when it comes to speed. So the more hardware you can designate to your Foxtrot computer, the faster you'll run, as well as Internet connectivity. Now, within Foxtrot, there's always some small updates that you can do as far as using the bypass keyboard for all of your actions to help you with bypassing the keyboard to click links and enter data. That always speeds it up dramatically, as well as setting up proper timing protocols, as far as waiting for the target to appear and so on. Now, some of the, if you have multiple licenses, you can actually split up your database records into 2 workstations and run them simultaneously, so you can effectively, double your speed. So if that, if you want to talk further about that, of course, we'd be glad to, do that for you.
All right. Well, thank you, Justin. Those are just some of the questions, and again, we'd be happy to answer any other specific questions that you might have. By way of just wrap up here, in case you have some specific questions, again, on this screen in front of you here, you have my email address, again, Dan Welbaum, or dwelbaum@enablesoft.com. You can certainly call our 800 number, but here's some things we'd like to encourage you to consider. Certainly to learn more, you can go to our website. We've got a lot of videos out there that you can look at, as well as a lot of information of how other organizations like yourself, case studies and so on, of how other financial institutions like yourself are saving significant time and dollars. You can certainly request a copy of the presentation by just emailing me, if you will, here at the email address on this slide. Or you certainly can call us, and we can have someone chat with you and begin to understand a little bit more about your environment and discover some of the ways that you'd like to automate various data-related tasks in your organization. But here's what we would strongly ask you to consider. When people begin to look at Foxtrot and they see the power and the capabilities, the time savings, the dollar savings, and so on, they often wonder, well, hey, will this really work in my environment? So we have a process we call a proof of concept, or a POC, a proof of concept. And we'd like to basically work with our prospective customers and allow them to see how Foxtrot could solve a specific data-related task in their environment before we even ask you to invest in our technology. So this is an opportunity for you to request what we call a proof of concept, where basically within a 2-hour time frame, we'll visit with you ahead of time and say, you might say, hey, boy, I'd like to automate this loan officer code change, or update these service charge changes, or I've got a loan onboarding project, if you will, or I've got some data out of one application, I'd like to have it automatically be entered into another application. Or I'd like to see how you could potentially migrate some data from one area to another area. So then a 2-hour time period, we'll literally roll up our sleeves in a very informal working session using our live software in your environment, and basically in your data-related task, and we'll automate that with Foxtrot. And you would create a couple of sample records, a few sample records up front, and we would then basically, you would download Foxtrot onto one of your workstations. It takes about just a few minutes to download from our website. We do that ahead of time. You build a couple of sample records, or a few sample records. And then during that 2-hour proof of concept, we would basically write the script, hit the play button, and show you exactly how Foxtrot would work in your environment. So the whole objectives of the proof of concept is to show that Foxtrot can basically target your specific application, again, whether that be a browser or green screen or Windows or Excel or whatever, show you that we can create the functionality that is needed to perform that project, and then show you the significant time and cost savings by using this technology for that project. So we highly recommend you consider a proof of concept. So feel free to send an email directly to myself after the webinar here, and just put in there POC and would like to learn more about the proof of concept, or whatever question you might have, and we'll be happy to get back with you here within the next 24 hours here from this particular webinar time. So again, with that, we want to just say thank you to each of you for investing time with us today. We appreciate you wanting to learn more about how Foxtrot could automate various data entry and maintenance and integration and migration and parsing and aggregation tasks in your organization, and we'd love to earn the right to serve you longer term. So again, I want to just say thank you, a very special thank you to Janice for investing her time with us this afternoon, sharing her experiences, and Justin as well. We appreciate your time. Again, folks, this concludes our webinar, and we would love to earn the opportunity to serve your institution. Thank you very much.